Okay, so we're going to do the problem 2.4a. It's the review problem for chapter 2 before we do the test. So this problem is very similar to the problem that you will see on the test. So I'm going to start on page 87. I'm just going to read all of the instructions first. Okay, it says on May 1st, B. Bangle opened self-wash laundry. His accountant listed the following chart of accounts. So there's our accounts that we have to choose from. And then we have A through N for transactions to be completed during May. But I'm going to go over to page 88 at the top and continue to read the instructions before I even begin. So number one, we're going to record the owner's name in the capital and drawing T account. So let's go ahead and do that. We know that this is going to be assets, liabilities. This is going to be capital. So we can type that here. And the guy's name is, or girl, B. Bangle capital, and then this will be B. Bangle drawing. Okay, so we got that one done. Correctly place the plus and minus signs for each T account and label the debit and credit sides of the accounts. So we all know how to do that, right? This is assets. And this is, an asset is on, well, let's continue. This is liabilities. This is, well, owner's equity / capital. This is owner's equity / drawing. This is going to be all the revenue accounts. And this is going to be all of the expense accounts. Okay, I spelled revenue wrong. And then, you know, obviously the left on every side is debit. And credit, so go through and do that. I'm going to pause the video right now to give you time to do that. Next, we need to, according to the instructions there at the top of page 88, number 2, place the plus and minus signs for each T account to indicate the increase and decrease side. Well, for all asset accounts, we know that they increase on the debit side and they decrease on the credit side because assets are on the left side of the accounting equation. There, you know, if we could hit escape there, we could put an equal sign here. There's our accounting equation. Okay, liability. Oops. Equal sign and then space bar and enter, or not, or we could do maybe space bar equal sign space bar. See if that does it. There we go. And then between liabilities and owner's equity, space bar plus space bar. This is for the drawing, that when we know that's a minus. And this is for revenue, and we know that is going to increase owner's equity because revenue is money coming in. And right here, this would be a minus because expenses is what it is. Expenses are what the cost of doing business. You have to pay your bills in order to be in business, and that's money going out of the business, and so that's a reduction ultimately in owner's equity. So go back through here. This assets is a minus. So liabilities is on the right side of the accounting equation. Right in accounting means credit. So the right side. Okay, I got to do this. Space minus space. Okay. So this is going to be the increase side. And this is going to be the decrease side because of the side of the accounting equation it's on. And the same goes for owner's equity. Drawing, on the other hand, is going to be a decrease in owner's equity or in capital, okay? And since it's a decrease, it's going to be opposite of, it is a contra account, which means opposite of the capital account. And so the increase side for the drawing account is the debit side, and the decrease side is the credit side. Okay, next we have the revenue account. The revenue account is an increase in owner's equity because revenue is money coming into the business based on either product sales or service sales. So the increase side of the revenue account is the same as the capital account. So we're going to increase on the credit side, and we're going to decrease on the debit side. And then expenses is opposite of revenue. Revenue is money coming in, making money for the business. Expenses is money going out. We're paying our bills in order to run the business. So the expenses account is really opposite of the revenue account. So the expenses account increases on the debit side and decreases on the credit side. Okay, now we're going to go back to our book. Number 2, it says record the transactions in the T accounts, write the letter of each entry to identify the transaction. So let's go over to transaction A back on page 87, and Bangle deposited $35,000 in a bank account in the name of the business. So the first thing I have to ask myself is, what 2 accounts are affected? Well, he deposited money in my bank account. That's cash. Okay, and then in the name of the business, that tells you that's capital. That's an investment that the owner made in the business. So for the first transaction, well, let's do this. This is cash. We forgot to do this. Cash, and then this is the debit side, and this is the credit side, and we'll just do this as we go. The debit for cash is the increase side, and the credit for cash is the decrease side. So this is transaction A, and we're putting it on the debit side because he's putting money into the business, so that means cash is going up. That's $35,000. And then we know for every transaction there's a debit and a credit. Well, owner's equity in the business is increasing as well. Let's go ahead and label these debit. That's a funky font. Debit, credit, capital account. We went over this already. The debit side is the decrease side, and the credit side is the increase side. So this is transaction A. Okay, and so that's transaction A. And then you just keep going through. I always make sure I have a debit and a credit, therefore, and make sure it's in balance. You know, the left side is increasing by 35,000. The right side is increasing also by 35,000. We're in balance. I can move on. So you do the same thing. Keep doing that same procedure. What accounts are affected? How are they affected? Debit, which one's the debit? Which one's the credit? And you do that through transaction end. I'm going to pause the video now and do that myself, and then you can start this back up again when you're finished with transaction end. Okay, so here I am finished with all of my transactions. I have footed all of the columns, and I have calculated the balance for all of the columns. And we scroll over here so you can see better. So here are all the assets and their balances, and here is the rest. Okay. Go ahead and pause the video to check your work if you need to, okay? And now we're ready to move on. We've reached the end of the month, so let's go ahead and take a look at our instructions again on page 88 at the top. We did 1, we did 2, we did 3, we did 4, and now we're ready to prepare a trial balance as of May 31st. So to determine that, debits equal credit. So let's put our heading in. The name of the business is, I have to check, Self-Wash Laundry. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this and type the title in. Okay, and this is real funky looking, so what I'm going to do here for this title, I'm going to select these cells, and then on the Home tab, I'm going to find the Merge and Center, and I'm going to click it. And then I'm going to do the same for these other two, so the title doesn't look so weird. Okay, and then I did type the date, the way the book shows, but it showed up like this for me. So you can change the format of that by clicking on that cell, and then up here we're going to click we can do, let's pick number here, and we're going to choose, I click that little box and I'm going to choose date, and here's all the options we can pick from. I'm going to find this one. That's the one we want, and I'm going to say okay. And now that's all set up, all good. So now we're going to start typing in the account names, okay? And that just goes in the order of the chart of accounts. So if you look on page 87 in your book for problem 24A, right there are all the chart of accounts. So cash goes first, then supplies, then prepaid insurance, then equipment. And I'm going to pause the video and do that right now, and you should too. Okay, I have all the account names typed out in the order provided on page 87 of the chart of accounts. So now I'm going to come back over, and it says I need to complete my trial balance. So how do I find these dollar amounts? And do I put a debit and a credit in for cash? Like, how do I do this? So you're going to go find the T account for cash, which in this case is right here. And we're only going to put the balance in. Actually, I should probably have this number right here. And not here. And then here, to calculate the balance, I could do this. Equal sign, this, minus this, and that calculates the balance for me. So there's my balance, $26,525. And it's debit because that's the side that the balance is on. That's the largest side. So that's where you find all the other ones. Supplies is a $225 debit. Okay, I'm going to pause the video. You go ahead and find the balance for all the rest of the accounts and fill them in either the debit or the credit column on the trial balance. Okay, so I've completed the trial balance, and now I'm going to show you how to put a formula in here to do the calculating for you so you don't have to add it all yourself. So put your active cell where you want your answer to appear, which is right here. And then up here on the home tab, right here is auto sum. If you click that, it's going to guess that you want to add these numbers. Well, you want to add them all. So click here at the top and drag down to the last one, 280, and hit enter. And now that's adding all of these. And then if you click on that, notice the formula up here. Now you can grab the handle and drag it over, and it will copy it over to this one. You can delete it out of these two. Debits equal credits. We're golden. We can move on to the next statement, which is the income statement. So we're going to go ahead and put the heading in here. I'm going to pause the video and allow you to do that and do the merge and center and all that also for the heading. Okay, and on the income statement, we know it's only revenues and expenses. So right here is going to be revenue, and in this case, there's only one, and that is, we typed them all in up above. That's laundry revenue, okay? And we can look on our trial balance here and see laundry revenue, $37.60. That's where we get that amount. Okay, and then here are the expenses. Okay, and then we just start listing them all in the order that they are in the trial balance. Yeah. So the first one is wages expense. The next one is rent expense, and I'm just looking at the trial balance here. The next one is utilities expense, and then the last one is miscellaneous expense. Now I can get my amounts from up here. So wages expense is $940. Oh. And rent is $875. Utilities is $285. And miscellaneous is $280. Oh, jeez. Good Lord. Got fat fingers. Okay, and then here we're going to find total. It says enter a positive number and as a formula. So this is, we're adding the total of expenses. So actually we should probably click down here and type in total expenses to label this, okay? And that is right here. We're again, we're adding a string of numbers. So I'm gonna click auto sum, and then I'm just gonna click, oh, it didn't work. I'm gonna click auto sum here, and then I'm gonna click here and drag here because that's what I wanna add, and I'm gonna hit enter. And then here, we're gonna enter this as a formula, and to find net income or net loss, it's equal sign, you take revenue, and you minus total expenses, and if it's positive, it is net income. So right over here, we need to type in net income. Okay, and it is 1380, and we're going to double underline it. We're good to go. Now, since we know our net income, we can now calculate our new owner's equity. So we need to create the statement of owner's equity. I'm going to pause the video and type the heading in. Okay, I'm going to show you something here that you might not know about Excel, but notice how these are different, formatted differently. I'm going to click on self-wash laundry because that's what all the other ones are, like this format. Click on that, and I'm going to do format painter, and I'm going to click and drag it over these other two rows so that they all look the same. Okay, so now I'm going to come down here, and I'm doing the statement of owner's equity, and the first thing we need to do right here is type in, this is the beginning, B capital as of May 1st. Okay, and then in this case, there was no balance because if you recall, the owner made an investment right out the gates on the 1st. Okay, so there was nothing in the bank account until then. Okay, and so then next we need to do investments during May, and we know there was investments. We know there was investments because, oh, hold on, I'm doing this in the wrong spot. I'm going to do Control X, Control V, Format Painter. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, at the beginning of the month. So here we only need to type in capital because this is from the beginning. Okay, and then we can delete this 0, I guess, and put it here where they want it. All right, and then next we're going to do we want to add investments, subtract investments, or add withdrawals? Well, what happened? We know from looking at the T accounts up here that the owner increased the capital account. That's an investment. That means it's going up for $35,000. Okay, so down here, we are going to choose plus investments, and that is $35,000. Okay, and then we need to do we had a net income from up here, so we're going to choose plus net income, and we get that from here, 1380. Okay, and then now we have a subtotal. Okay, well, it'd be nice if I could spell. And okay, and then we're going to use a formula here. We're adding these two together, so equal sign, and it's only 2, so we can go this plus this and hit enter. Okay, next we need to do withdrawals from May, less withdrawals during May, and we're going to use a drawing account for that. And you can see here the owner withdrew $800, which is a decrease in the capital account, and now we're going to reflect that here in the statement of owner's equity by less withdrawals or subtracting withdrawals. And this isn't, you just type the number in, okay? And then we're going to do, we need to do a calculation here, and what we're going to do is take the subtotal and subtract the withdrawals, so equal sign, this minus this, okay, and it's positive. That means it was an increase. Oops, I guess we got to drop down here. An increase in capital of this amount, okay? So now we've figured, or we're going to figure the capital account as of the end of the month now, after all of our calculations, and that's simply taking the beginning account, and if this is an increase, we're going to add it. If it's a decrease, we subtract these two. In this case, it's an increase, so it's equal sign, you know, this plus this, and now we have our new capital account balance. And so the last statement we need to make is the balance sheet. Go ahead and type the head. Okay, since we found our new balance for the capital account, we are now able to use all the rest of the accounts from the trial balance to complete the balance statement, because we have used all of the expenses and the revenues on this income statement. We use the drawing account and the beginning capital account balance on the statement of owner's equity. All we have left now are the new capital account balance that we figured on the statement of owner's equity, and the liabilities and all of the assets. So let's go ahead and do that now. So here we're going to put assets, and then this is in the order that it's in the trial balance. So cash, you know, you come up here, you can keep going back and forth, but cash is first, then supplies, then prepaid insurance. We already typed this all in order, and that's why it's in order here. And then get the amounts from the trial balance up here. So cash is $26,525 cash. Okay, and keep going back and forth. Supplies is $225. Next is $1,560, $12,500, and $1,870. Okay, and then here we need to just enter a formula to add up the assets. Okay, so I'm going to click here, and I'm going to do auto sum, and I'm going to click here in the first number and drag to here, and there we have that. So now the last part of the accounting equation is adding liabilities and owner's equity. So here is liabilities, and this is our accounts payable, and the balance on the trial balance for that up here is $7,100. Okay, then we have owner's equity, and again the balance sheet is simply the accounting equation, and this is our capital account, and we get this amount from our statement of owner's equity. So you could technically click here and go equal sign here. Okay, and then we enter a formula, we add liabilities and owner's equity, and if we did it all right, these two numbers should balance, and they do, and that's why we double underline them.